I've got an idea for learning the language. I'm thinking of becoming an Uber driver, which I think will help me immerse and learn the language. More on that as that unfolds. I went to get a criminal record check, which is part of the process, which is one of the easiest bureaucratic thing I've ever done here in Portugal. And I just wanted to read this out. Nobody else will be able to say this, I suspect. This is going back to Cake's I Will Survive. We listened to this over and over, riding a recumbent tandem across Iowa along completely unplayable Rage Against the Machine. It's a Yeoman family favorite. Nobody else would be able to say that, would they? Their recumbent tandem across Iowa listening to Cake. I Will Survive. That's a unique experience for the Yeoman family there. Uniquely Yeomanesque. Right, let's try this again. Mel, that works a little bit better, I think.
Okay, no idea what happened.
No, and it always happens when you bring somebody onto the screen. It's that moment. There you were, frozen on the screen, and then you disappeared.
There you go. I'm here now.
Yes, and thank you for that rousing Cat Empire song, Chariot. Just how excited are you about going to see them this evening?
I'm just so excited. I can't even tell you. I was actually feeling a bit teary. I'm so excited.
You? Right.
This song, this band has a lot of meaning for me, which I won't go into because I'll get all emotional. But it's all good stuff, and
yes.
And it's an Aussie band, and I haven't seen any Aussie bands, and I'm excited. Yeah, and
It's
my
gonna
son's
be great,
going.
isn't it? Yeah. I think there'll be a few Aussies there tonight, won't there? I suspect they'll be drawn
Well,
out of the woodwork.
I don't know because I believe there's only about 500 of us in the country, I'm told. So
Yes.
not so
Yeah.
great.
Well.
And Cat Empire is not kind of a mainstream band. It's more of a festival band, you know. It's only a couple of songs that hit the radio. So it's not as well known in Australia. In actual fact, I'm meeting other friends here tonight from Portugal, Portuguese friends who know it here. So yeah.
So it's quite niche then. You'd be in the Australian niche, and then you'd be in the kind of festival niche of among Australians to know the Cat Empire, presumably.
Probably, yeah. I mean, I think we played once before, Hello, Hello, and there's another song called Two Shoes, which did make it to mainstream radio.
Yeah.
But for the epicness of their band, which, as you can see, is, 10, 12 people, they vary up, and the brassiness of it and the sound of it and fun of it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it's not more mainstream than it is, but it does tend to be in those big day and 3-day festivals. They headline most of them or close to, and with Xavier Rudd and Tash Sultana and those sorts, and all good fun. Get the crowd pumping, let me tell you.
I'm sure they do. They're a brilliant party band, and a meaning in the music as well. A brilliant reframe of war talk during that tune, and that's why we entitled the show this morning "Make Music Not War," which of course comes from the 60s meme, a meme before memes were known about, of "Make Love Not War." We might talk about that because there's something very interesting psychologically in how the times are changing. We mentioned Bob Dylan earlier on, and this idea of being against things or being for things. I think that's a psychological shift of the moment. We might talk about that a little bit more in this show. We need to find out how you're doing on your land there. But before we move on from Aussies in Portugal, you say there's only about a few hundred. Have you been to the Down Under restaurant? Obviously.
No, I've heard about it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it kind of got going and got some popularity during COVID when I was in lockdown and couldn't get across the thing, and they were suffering. There's also another place. There was another cafe that I did go to. I can't think of the name of it now. And they opened in November 2019. And I went and saw the guy and said, "How are you doing? This is at the end of 2020." And he said, "We're probably gone." So I don't even know if they're still there because, to open a restaurant in a foreign country 2 months before we go into lockdown is a bit disastrous.
Right.
And he couldn't obviously get a lot of assistance. Not that the Portuguese government gave a lot of assistance, but he couldn't get what there was because he just got here. He was Australian, not Portuguese.
Wow.
And no assistance from the Australian government either. So, a lot of us got caught.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to a Portuguese guy actually at the weekend who started a restaurant, I think in November 19 as well. It was his dream to start a restaurant, and he hung on in there by the skin of his teeth. He also had some quite robust responses to visiting police officers he was telling me about, who are trying to enforce unconstitutional serving suggestions on the population. A very interesting gentleman. So shout out to you, sir, this morning if you're tuned in. I have been to the Down Under restaurant that survived the lockdown, the pandemic. And of course, notable Australian colleague Astrid over at Expats Portugal, who makes the same point that you do, that there are very few Australians, it would appear, in Portugal. And that's a bit odd as well, isn't it? Because there are Australians everywhere. It's a bit like when you travel the world. There are Irish people, there are people from Birmingham in the UK, and they are often Australians. Why so sparsely represented, do you think, here in Portugal?
Well, I mean, it's a long way from home. So we're literally on the other side of the world if you run a
Oh, yes, of
skewer through
course.
the world.
Yes.
So, I mean, it
Please don't
makes it
describe
much
that.
more challenging to settle here
Right.
because it's a long way home and it's a very expensive trip home. So I think, and Australians are probably more aligned with the Asian cultures than the European
Right.
countries in terms of their style of living in many ways. And the weather here is cold for half of us. The other half is normal. So, it's a very different way of living. It
Mm.
doesn't suit. I mean, it's beautiful to visit for a lot of Australians. It's not. It's we kind of Australia's a very unusual little hybrid of cultures, and of course, 60% of the population of Australia was either not born in the country or their parents weren't. So you can't even label Australians together because most of the population is coming from hugely diverse heritage. And so the cultures that they bring together are very different, and a lot of that's come out of Asia. So,
Yes.
the tie with the UK is getting less and less each year, the tie to the British culture. And the British culture, as you know, is different from Portuguese. So we're also extremely influenced. It's almost like a child. I think of Australia like a child. We're very, very influenced by America and the
Mm.
work culture of America
Wow.
and the lack of community of America, as I perceive it. So it's quite different in Portugal, where you deal with the frustration of the slowness, which of course is also a benefit, but it's a culture shock. It's a
Yeah.
very big culture shock. I as you know, and I'd rather get onto the other topic actually, but just quickly, as you know, I've been doing some renovations on my house, and all I've been doing is sitting outside and painting the house. And I cannot tell you how many Portuguese have walked past my door saying, "Oh, calma, calma, pouco
Come on. Yeah.
pouco, go
Yeah.
slower, go
Yeah.
slower." And I'm like, "What do you want me to do? Like paint slower?" And a Portuguese friend of mine was saying, "You've done so much there, Mel. Though you must be exhausted." I said, "Up until July, in 8 months, all I'd done is replace 4 windows, and I didn't even do that. I got someone in. Like, in Australia, I ripped out a whole house and renovated it in 3 weeks. And so 8 months for me was driving me a little bit batty, just to the only thing I could accomplish was replacing 4 windows. And so, the comparison there, the lifestyle is very different
Amazing.
in
Yeah.
lots of ways. So I think a lot of Australians come here and love many of the aspects of it, but it's not. It's same with every culture. You know, it's visiting and living is 2 different things, and
Yes.
it doesn't suit everybody to live. And I think for Australians, if they're going to get out of the country and want a slower paced life and a more community life, they'll probably go to Thailand or Bali, Indonesia,
Yeah.
those sorts of places, Fiji, um, instead of coming across the other side of the world where it's very hard to get home to visit
Very
family.
interesting. Yeah, and if you're going to the other side of the world, you might go to England to see the old place, I suppose, rather than stop off in Portugal.
Yeah, and it depends on the background of the individual. So, say
Yeah.
early on in Australia's history, of course, there was the white British thing, and then the next big groups were Italians, Chinese, and Greeks coming in for the gold rush.
What a cult.
Um, so you have a big Italian Greek culture, and
Right.
then so probably they're going back to Italy as well.
Yeah, amazing.
Their origin countries or close to their origin countries if they were going to move away. But
Yeah.
I'm speculating. I simply don't know. But it's yeah, there's just not many here, and also Australia's only 20 27 million people. So,
Yes, and a vast, vast place. I really enjoyed visiting Queensland. I loved it over there, with my Chinese relatives in Queensland, and seeing where the O'Reillys, different O'Reillys to Bobby, of
mm,
course, who landed in
beautiful.
up in the mountains where the O'Reillys resort. I think they had
Mhm,
their little parcel of land, didn't they? And it's
mhm.
an incredible success story. Really loved it over there. And of course, why would you come to a country of 300 days of sunshine when you've got 600 days of sunshine in Australia, right? I
Well,
think
in that part of that well, actually, it rains quite a lot there, but it's still 32 degrees when it rains, so you're kind of going, "Thank God, let me run out in the rain, cool down a bit."
yeah,
So,
and that sound of the forest, that's really stays in
mm,
my mind and
mm.
heart, is that very Australian sound of the birds in the rainforest. It's an incredible sound, isn't it? It must do something to you if you're Australian as
Oh,
well.
for sure, and of course, that's only the north. That's only the north, it's not like that in the south. But, Queensland and upwards, yeah, I miss the green lushness of the rainforest for sure.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Andelo is here, just popped in to say hi, waiting for those lesser spotted elusive builders. Twitching there, builder spotting. Bondia lurking today. Hi, João, rest of the north. How you doing? Good to see you. And Mr. S is lurking too.